Welcome to episode 15 of the NewsNale. I'm Peter Nalen, and today we're going to be talking about some big tech layoffs, and we'll have a NewsNale finish. But first, NewsNale is brought to you by Nails Ed, a learning and development platform focused on professional communications in writing, presentations, and meeting management, ensuring all your communications are received first. That's because they're focused, they grab interest, they are well researched and supported, they are specific to one idea, one task at a time, and they have next steps that are time-based and measurable. We offer online and in-person communication, teaching, and coaching. Please see our website at nailsed.com for details and pricing. Today, our NewsNale will be a bit shorter. We had an interview that had to be canceled at the last moment because of some laryngitis. That was Elizabeth Johnson. She'll be coming back and joining us on the week of December 5th or 6th. But today, what are we going to talk about? Well, believe it or not, did we hear an admission of fault, a mistake possibly made by some of the big tech leaders? Well, yes, we did. Both Jack Dorsey, the ex-Twitter CEO, and Mark Zuckerberg of Meta, and you don't hear me say a lot of kind things about Mark, but they did come out and say, hey, you know what? We grew our companies too quickly, and now we have to start scaling back. Twitter via Elon Musk is doing it one way. Mark is actually doing it a fairly decent way as he's laying off his people. But what did we learn here? You've heard it here before. You've heard it here several times. These companies had high market capitalization. They had easy capital. They had lots of money. What do you do when you have lots of money? What's the easiest way to spend a lot of money? It is to hire more people. But when the reality stick hits, it hurts. What's the easiest way to save money? It's to fire those people that you had hired. So nothing new here. It just would happen because over the course of this past decade, capital has flowed into these high growth tech companies at a pace and a volume we had yet to see before, and it propped up thousands of startups, many of which had no viable path to profitability. So when you add too much money plus no proven profit model, it's when, not if, you're going to start having to cut costs or the business goes away. And there are tons of businesses that are not profitable and may not have a profit model that is viable. Snap has laid off almost the entire company. Uber has been going through layoffs. Lyft is probably now an acquisition target. Airbnb has yet to be profitable. I know it's hard to believe. They invest all the money they make into growth because they're going after this high growth, this rapid growth, trying to justify their market cap by adding new services. I mean, it seems a little crazy that you have a technology platform, they own no assets, that they are not yet profitable. Blue Apron, shocker. Let me see, we take small bits of food, we put tons of packaging around it. I'm surprised the Echo crowd hasn't gotten hold of them. We ship it to people so they can unpack it and then follow a recipe to make their food. Why would that work? I can't understand. Peloton, well, they're the ones that smoked the crack pipe of the lockdown, thinking the results they saw during the pandemic lockdown would continue afterwards. And shocker, it didn't. People actually like to see other people and work out with other people. Zillow's still not profitable. Casper, the maker of mattresses, there's no number of mattresses they could sell that they hit profitability. It's not a volume model. They're not going to be around for a while. And Dropbox. So different styles of severance, different style of packages vary. For Salesforce, they offered 2 months. And for Meta, they offered 4 months. Meta actually offered more if you had more longevity with the company. Salesforce took a rap on the wrist because they only offered 2 months, and it was the same 2 months if you're there a year or 10 years. 2 months severance is a lot of money to a group of middle managers who it's questionable what they were doing and should have seen it coming. But anyway, and boomer alert, I'm a boomer, but what you're seeing here is the cut of the middle management of this entitled group of folks that many of whom were not sure what they were doing, yet they were coddled. It's the participation trophy generation. No more free sushi lunches, no more back rubs, no more time off for pet bereavement. This generation that has been told that they're awesome, this was enabled and continued by these companies. I think that era is over. And I got to tell you, I hate to tell you, this group is going to have a very difficult time landing new jobs. Again, because they're mostly middle management and mostly hired because the companies could do it. They had the money versus having a need to do it. And there's not a lot of companies now that need middle managers. They need entry-level folks, they need the doers, and they need the leaders, but they don't need, very few need what's in the middle. So I kind of feel for these folks in their Patagonia vest and their slippers and their latte drinking out of their Yeti thermos mugs are going to have a rough time. And they better start working hard because that 2 months and that 4 months is going to be burned through quite quickly. So onward, to coin a phrase, overvalued, too much money, and not profitable is no way to grow a sustainable company. Kind of like what Dean Wormer told Bluto, right? Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. Not sure how that's related. I just love that quote and kind of like that movie. Anyway, onward and upward. So the learning here, the nail finish on this is, what goes up must come down, when you're overvalued, you have a lot of money and you overhire, at some point, you got to pay the piper. Hopefully these workers saved some money. They were probably very well paid. Hopefully they recognize it and put some of it in the bank, but I have a feeling what they did was consume. So, we're tossing those participation trophies. Actually, one of the warmest, happiest times of my life was when one of my children came home from the end of the year ceremony and they were all given these trophies and they hadn't won a tournament. They hadn't done anything. I believe it was my daughter. And she threw it in the trash, said, I don't understand. What does this mean? And I'm like, oh, that's my girl. Anyway, onward, we're tossing the trophies. We're moving on. There's a lot of good jobs out there, but you need to be willing to work for them and you need to be willing to work at them. And for you businesses that are starting up and that are growing, as Jason Fried and David Hansen wrote in their New York Times bestseller, Rework, only hire when you feel pain. Hold out that hiring till you absolutely must hire it. Don't do it just because you have the cash to do it. Save that cash. Keep that powder dry for a rainy day. And that's all for this NewsNale. Coming up in 2 weeks, we're taking next week off for Thanksgiving. But after that, we're going to be have NewsNale episode 16. We're going to be interviewing Bjorn Nabansny, founder, president of Big Sky Brewing, U of M grad, but we still like him down here in Bozeman. But he founded and runs the biggest brewer in Montana. And then the week of 12/6, we have Elizabeth Johnson of Trialware. So until then, have a great Thanksgiving, and thanks for listening to this NewsNale, which is brought to you from Nails Ed, the learning and development platform focused on professional communications in writing, presentation, and meeting management. Please check out our website at nailsed.com for details and pricing. And with that, we will say good day, good evening, and hug your family and friends during this next Thanksgiving.